My neighbor installed a security camera that pointed directly into my backyard. When I asked him to move it, he smirked. "If you're not doing anything wrong, why does it bother you?" I called a lawyer, and when he got served with a lawsuit, he stammered, "I didn't think you'd take it this far." I never thought I'd be embroiled in a neighborhood dispute, but here I am, sharing my story. A few months back, I noticed my neighbor, Greg, installing a security camera on his garage. At first, I didn't think much of it. Home security is important, after all. But then I realized the camera was pointed directly into my backyard. My private space, where I relax, garden, and enjoy time with my family, was now under surveillance. I decided to talk to Greg about it. One Saturday morning, I walked over to his yard where he was tending to his lawn. "Hey Greg," I started, keeping my tone friendly. "I noticed your new security camera. It's pointing into my backyard. Would you mind adjusting it?" Greg looked up, a smirk forming on his face. "If you're not doing anything wrong, why does it bother you?" he replied casually. I was taken aback. "It's not about doing anything wrong. It's about privacy. I don't feel comfortable being watched in my own yard." He shrugged. "It's my property. I can install cameras wherever I want." Frustrated, I decided to research my rights. I found that while homeowners can install security cameras, pointing them into areas where neighbors have a reasonable expectation of privacy, like backyards, can be legally questionable. Armed with this information, I approached Greg again. "Greg," I said, "I've looked into it, and it seems that pointing your camera into my backyard might be an invasion of privacy." He chuckled. "Good luck proving that." Feeling helpless, I consulted a lawyer. After explaining the situation, my attorney agreed that Greg's actions were intrusive and potentially illegal. We decided to send Greg a formal letter requesting the removal or repositioning of the camera. A week later, Greg received the letter. That evening, he stormed over to my house, letter in hand. "I can't believe you got a lawyer involved," he shouted. "I didn't think you'd take it this far." "Greg," I replied calmly, "I tried to talk to you about this. You dismissed my concerns." This was the next step. He glared at me before turning and stomping back to his house. Days passed, and the camera remained. My lawyer suggested filing a lawsuit for invasion of privacy. The idea of taking legal action against a neighbor was daunting, but I felt I had no choice. The legal process was grueling. Greg hired his own attorney, and the case dragged on for months. During this time, tensions between us escalated. He'd play loud music late into the night, let his dog relieve itself on my lawn, and even spread rumors about me among the neighbors. Despite the hostility, I stood my ground. The court proceedings revealed that Greg had been recording not just my backyard activities, but also conversations I'd had outdoors. This blatant invasion of privacy worked in my favor. The judge ruled that Greg had indeed invaded my privacy and ordered him to remove the camera immediately. He was also instructed to pay a fine and cover my legal fees. While the victory was satisfying, the aftermath was bittersweet. Greg's resentment was palpable. He became reclusive, avoiding eye contact and refusing to acknowledge my greetings. The friendly rapport we once shared was irreparably damaged. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realized the importance of standing up for one's rights. Privacy is a fundamental aspect of feeling safe and comfortable in one's home. While I wish the situation hadn't escalated as it did, I knew that addressing the issue head-on was necessary. To those who might find themselves in similar situations, my advice is this. Address the issue directly with your neighbor first. If that fails, know your rights and seek legal counsel if necessary. Protecting your privacy is not just about personal comfort, it's about upholding a principle that everyone deserves. About a month after Greg was ordered to take down the camera, things seemed calm. He kept to himself. I figured that was it. Done. Settled. But I was wrong. One evening, I came home from work and noticed something strange: two new, decorative, metal poles in Greg's backyard. They were tall, taller than his fence, and had fake birdhouses mounted on top. Suspicious-looking birdhouses. The next day, I stood in my yard, coffee in hand, staring at those birdhouses. My gut told me something was off. I asked my buddy Mike, who does electrical work, to stop by and take a look. Mike squinted at the birdhouses, then let out a slow whistle. "That's not for birds," he said. "Those holes? That's a lens port. He's got new cameras in there." I was livid. This man lost a legal case, paid fines, and still decided to keep spying on me, but sneakier this time. I called my lawyer again. He wasn't surprised. "Some people don't learn," he said. "But this time we go harder." So we filed for contempt of court. Greg had clearly violated the court's order, and we now had video and photographic proof of his birdhouse cameras. Mike helped me capture zoomed-in photos. Even got one where the lens inside the birdhouse glinted in the sunlight. Meanwhile, Greg acted like nothing was happening. Still mowing his lawn, still pretending he was just a regular neighbor. But I noticed things. People driving by my house and slowing down. New cars I didn't recognize. Someone even left a dead squirrel on my porch one morning. Coincidence? I wasn't sure. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about a camera anymore. This was personal now. Greg wasn't just creepy, he was playing games. A week before our next court date, someone egged my house. 2 nights later, all 4 tires on my truck were slashed. I didn't see who did it. But I didn't need to. I knew. I filed police reports, handed over security footage from my own front camera. Yes, I had one too, but only facing my driveway. The footage showed a hooded figure running off, but no face. No ID. Still, the police started keeping an eye out. That seemed to cool things down. Then came the twist I never saw coming. At the next court hearing, Greg didn't show up. His lawyer did. And his lawyer claimed Greg had sold the house and moved out. Just like that. I was stunned. I asked around. A "for sale" sign had gone up overnight, taken down the next morning. No open house. No moving truck. No goodbyes. A few neighbors said they saw Greg load a U-Haul late one night, just him and a younger guy, maybe his son or nephew. Then he was gone. But here's the weirdest part. The new owners? They're a married couple from Nevada. Sweet people, early 40s. But when I casually brought up the whole camera thing, they looked confused. They said Greg told them the cameras were never pointed at neighbors. That I was the problem neighbor who made things difficult and ran him out. He lied to them. Worse, I found out through a title check that he hadn't actually sold the house yet. He just signed it into a trust and rented it out. He was still the legal owner. That's when I realized Greg hadn't given up. He was watching again. But now from a distance. And then something even worse happened. The tension just kept building. After that shocking court session where I learned Greg wasn't done, strange things started happening around my house. One night, I heard tapping on my window. I thought it was just the wind, but then I saw a shadow slip away into the dark. No one was in sight, yet I felt eyes on me. I installed extra lights and even mounted another camera of my own facing the backyard. Late one evening, as I reviewed the footage, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure. It was not Greg, but someone who looked exactly like him, a man with the same rough look and defiant eyes. I watched in disbelief as this doppelganger slowly moved closer to my garden fence, as if to check something on the other side. Had Greg hired a body double to keep an eye on me, or was this another twist in his sick game? A few days later, I received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a single Polaroid photo, a snapshot of my backyard taken from across the street, at an angle I hadn't thought possible. Scribbled on the back were the words, "You think you're safe?" I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. I thought back to all the odd moments, the dead squirrel on my porch, the egged house, and now this. Was Greg manipulating someone else to continue his spying? Was he now using a proxy, hiding behind someone else's face? The idea was both terrifying and maddening. Then came another twist. While talking with one of the new owners of the house, those kind folks from Nevada, I learned something even stranger. They mentioned seeing a second security camera hidden among the trees near the fence, one that looked professional. They said it had a red light that blinked ever so slightly in the evening. When I asked more, they seemed embarrassed. "We heard rumors that something strange was going on here before we moved in," one of them whispered. I realized that the whole neighborhood had its share of odd happenings. Apparently, Greg had been stirring trouble for a long time, using his tech skills to spy on more than just me. My lawyer now believed that Greg's actions were part of a larger scheme. He mentioned that it might be worth investigating whether there were similar complaints from other neighbors in different parts of the county. It wasn't just a personal vendetta anymore. It seemed like Greg enjoyed creating chaos and tension. While the police still had little to go on in terms of the hooded figure and the late-night tapping, I began collecting every scrap of evidence I could. I spent nights watching the camera feeds, trying to piece together a pattern. Over time, it became clear whoever was behind the cameras knew my schedule. On nights when I had friends over or when I was away, there were no recordings. But on quiet nights, the camera would record parts of my backyard, even my small gestures as I watered the plants. The twist that hit me hardest was when I checked my phone records for a moment of calm. A mysterious text arrived. Stop playing with fire, or you'll get burned. No sender ID. Just those words. It seemed like Greg, or someone connected to him, was now sending me warnings in multiple ways. Every day, the list of unsettling events grew longer. I began hearing muffled voices outside my windows, as if someone was having hushed conversations about me. Neighbors told me they saw a dark sedan parked near my house on several occasions. The situation was far from over. It felt like I was caught in a relentless circle of intrusion and threats. And then, one rainy evening, a neighbor I rarely spoke to, a quiet man who lived a few houses down, knocked on my door. He looked nervous and kept glancing around before speaking. I've seen things, strange things. I think Greg isn't acting alone. I saw someone in a dark coat, carrying a bag, leaving his place. I didn't think much at the time, but now I'm scared. His words made my heart pound. It wasn't just about cameras anymore. There was something more dangerous behind it all. Now, with mounting evidence, strange warnings, and a growing sense of being watched from every corner, I knew the conflict was far from settled. Something deeper and more twisted was at work, and no one seemed safe. Not me, not the neighbors, not even the quiet street we thought we all shared. I'm still piecing everything together, wondering what will happen next. Every night, I sleep with one eye open, questioning if the next shadow, the next unexpected noise, is part of a plan that I can't escape. And somewhere out there, the person behind it all is watching, waiting for the right moment to make the next move. The fear got worse. The late-night tapping didn't stop. More envelopes started showing up. No return address, just photos of my house. Some were from weird angles, like from a second-story window or through a crack in a fence. I started keeping them in a folder labeled, just in case. I barely slept. My hands shook every time I checked the mailbox. I went back to the police with everything. They said without a clear face or caught-in-the-act evidence, there wasn't much they could do. But that quiet neighbor who came to warn me? He showed up again, this time with something that changed everything. He handed me a flash drive and said, I pointed my own camera at Greg's house after I got suspicious. You'll want to see this. Then he walked away like he didn't want to be involved anymore. I plugged it into my laptop. And there it was. Clear as day. Greg had returned. He was sneaking into his old house at night through the back. He had a key. He was living in the attic. The couple renting the house didn't know. He was hiding upstairs like some kind of ghost. He'd been watching all of us. I was sick to my stomach. How had it gone this far? That same night, I made my choice. I was done being quiet. Done being patient. Done being the guy who just followed the rules while this man destroyed my peace. I printed the footage. Every frame. I dropped copies on the porch of every neighbor within 5 houses. I emailed the footage to the police. I sent it to the couple renting the home, too. And I CC'd my lawyer. The reaction was explosive. The renters called the cops. Greg wasn't there when they arrived, but he showed up the next night, probably thinking it was safe, and walked right into a trap. They caught him. Inside the attic, they found a small desk, an old monitor, sleeping bag, and, get this, 3 hidden cameras facing my property from different angles. He had wired them through the walls. He'd been watching me from inside his old house. The cops were stunned. The neighbors were horrified. Everyone suddenly realized this wasn't a dumb neighbor dispute. It was deeper, sicker. Greg was charged. Breaking and entering. Stalking. Violating a restraining order. Illegal surveillance. A whole stack of charges. But the story doesn't end there. You see, when I gave all that footage to the police, they looked into more than just the spying. They found something I hadn't expected. Greg wasn't working alone. One of the people helping him? My own coworker, Jason. I knew him from the office, but I never realized he lived just 3 blocks over. Apparently, Jason and Greg had gone to high school together. Jason had helped Greg install the birdhouse cameras, and he'd been feeding him info about me, my schedule, when I'd be out, when I was stressed. That betrayal? That one hit hard. I reported Jason to HR the next day. He was fired within a week. Now, as for me, I'll admit something here that I haven't told anyone. In those months where I was losing sleep, scared and angry, I made a mistake too. One night, after Greg had egged my house and slashed my tires, I drove to his place before the court order was finalized. I took a baseball bat and smashed the side mirror on his car. Just one mirror. It felt like justice back then. But now I know it made me know better in that moment. That choice haunted me later, because when Greg's lawyer found out, they tried to turn it against me. Tried to make me look like the aggressor. It didn't work. The court saw the bigger picture, but it still stuck with me. I crossed a line, even if just once. Still, the damage Greg caused, it's bigger than what I can explain here. I don't walk around my house the same anymore. I double-check windows. I barely go into my backyard, even now that he's in jail. The renters moved out 2 weeks after he was arrested. They said they couldn't sleep there anymore. Can't blame them. Greg's house is empty now. Still technically his. No one wants to buy it. Last week, a "for sale" sign went up again. I'm keeping my distance. But I'll tell you this. The day they arrested Greg, I walked outside and sat in my yard. Right in the middle of the grass. No cameras. No threats. Just silence. And I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because after all that, after all the fear, the court dates, the ruined trust, and the wreckage of my peace, I finally had a moment where I wasn't looking over my shoulder. For once, I wasn't the one being watched. He was. From behind bars. And that, after everything, was worth every damn second.